Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker, and it's Friday, and that means Wargame European Escalation. Woohoo! So I have a user submitted matches. It's a NATO versus pact 4v4 team match. And for NATO we have Mr. Magic, Henattato, Gurkha, and SASbest. Quite a clever name. And with the pact players we have Deadnation, Tornado, Deustcheman, and the Forlorn Hope. So with team matches, basically everyone starts off with a free field of operations base and a free command center. So immediately you have an immediate dump of extra points into the map, about 200, 300 extra points. And so in 4v3 scenarios, yes, the three players are going to be at disadvantage because of the severely lacking number of command members. Now this map is Hell's Highway. Hell's Highway is one of these ones that is very cheese prone, especially in team play. Basically what ends up happening in 95% of matches that happen on this is that one guy will get like 4 mortar carriers or like 4 or 5 rocket grenade type things and just a bunch of FOBs. And it really works on this map, especially in team play, because just how little space there is. Units are really going to be in this jungle here a lot of the time, so spend a lot of time in these little towns in this area, and you can actually kill on full commands quite easily. And team play tends to attract the newer players to the game. You get things like this, the original command vehicle being used over the newer ones. If you're new to the game, pro tip, get a new command member in your deck immediately. Place it down, right click will destroy this command member, and boom, there you go. One of my big pet peeves of team play is, of course, the field of operation base is communal, meaning that the jerk who gets the 4 mortars can use all your FOBs and you run into supply. A lot of times, a lot of the defensive play is very supply dependent, and once you run into supply, a lot of these rocket-based weapons fall out of value. But we have 8 players today who will be trying to outmaneuver each other, and there's a lot of other stuff you see, like this guy's got his helicopter recon combination. And then this guy's got his helicopter recon combination. So you got double helicopter recon on a very short map. So that's just something, like when people are playing team together, usually like one guy will do the helicopter recon and then the other guy will just use helicopter all in, you know? So on this team looks a little more organized. Got the single helicopter recon. Looks like he's going to try and sneak a Puma across the side of the map and might try and place it here at Gulf. That's an odd location though, or maybe try to sneak all the way around the hotel. All the while we see a huge flank of helicopters and helicopter transports coming around here for Tornado, as he's also got a double T-80U, which is very expensive, some SPOs and some Tunguskas, double Tunguska coming around the map. So it looks like you can try and do some very long range flank on basically what ends up being the border of the effective map. And he might actually run out of fuel while he's doing this. And this is something that's not going to be very gettable, not going to be very easy to pick up. And you can look at the range of their units here. You're going to see that they're not going to be able to actually spot this coming. So most people, of course, will be trying to fight for this echo. And he's going to use these transport helicopters here to actually ground some infantry units very quickly in the front. Try to create an anti-aircraft, anti-rocket presence. All the while, Martyr Roland 2 is going to get rallied out from Magic Mike, or Mr. Mike, or Mr. Magic. He's Magic Mike to me. And a first engagement is going to happen right here. Some helicopters versus some recons. Not going to be the best trade. And one helicopter goes down immediately. The second one just barely gets out. There is a PTR faggot coming out of this transport helicopter here. Going to provide some excellent anti-tank damage. But here comes some Scimitar armored recons, which do very good against infantry because of the fact that they're largely invisible. And yes, it will be filed, as well as 4 tank destroyers moving up as well. Not going to really do too much against these PTR faggots. And all the while, ping on the map, here comes a spot. He has spotted 2 vehicles here. And of course, he's got to know something's up. A lot of gazelles are going to try and move in to intercept this. This could be a huge snag. What he's got to get is this very key group of units here. The T-80 Tunguska and the T-80U. And the infantry, of course. And PTR Faggot going to go down relatively good cost here. And immediately the team of Mr. Magic, Henattato, Gurkha, SASbest, we'll call them NATO, are going to get a significant lead. The VDV squad here, your Czech Special Forces, well not Special Forces, will in fact go down to some Jagers and position will actually still go to pact, though. They will be at this 4-point base, but how long they can hold this, that's the question. They're taking some pretty serious losses here right now, and more flak panzer, more anti-air is going to get rallied out. All the while, the sneakiness, the long-range sneakiness. Tornado's been thinking about this for a while. He's actually, and yes, in fact, it is poorly planned because he's running out of fuel. He might not be able to make the trip with all these units. He's rallying out some supply trucks to this location. This could, in fact, reveal if the supply trucks pass through the most obvious route, which would be right through the middle, right into the enemies. Transport helicopters are in position. Going to drop into this woods location. Here comes a fairly large push. The Scimitar leading the charge. Not going to be your best unit for leading the charge, but he will be able to pick up a lot of this infantry, and he will be able to spot a lot of the units. Goes down. Huge loss. Pact taking a lead right now, in which NATO have to build up. We have the 4 mortar carriers for the NATO, however, pounding on a lot of these very focused, very centralized locations. Anywhere in these woods will do well, and the UAZs might actually go down to this. All the while, hello, spotted by Gurkha. It's 4 transport helicopters on the way, and here comes pretty much all of the helicopters per Gurkha trying to help take care of this. This should actually be a more even battle than it should be. Without them landing, these transport helicopters can actually put up quite a fight against the Gazelles. All the while, we have a small engagement here. Some Fusiliers are going to punch through, and with support of mortar fire, hitting on this, so bad command vehicle. And actually a push forward by deustcheman. He's going to try and take the woods location using these Scott 2 AMs, your Super Scots with weapons on them, and able to actually push through the woods. These Fusiliers were definitely very pushed too much forward. But none of those are words. And we're going to see a little bit of push up here from deustcheman as he tries to get after his mortar carrier, which has been bogging him down. The Tunguskas will also join the fray, providing that awesome autocannon damage, which will be very, very good against the infantry here. But he can't get the vehicle too close. In fact, this BMP-1P, which is a rocket infantry, anti-infantry hybrid, is in a lot of trouble. The shots response, however, are stunned and are on the retreat. The VAB is also stunned. Here comes the Tunguska for cleanup. Getting a little too close, however, as the action heats up. We see in this corner over here, the Chieftain MK-20 is going to take this Moto Streltsy, which has basically wound up in a very odd position. The VDVs have all been dropped off in the woods, not by their choice, of course. And Martyr VTS-1 are going to try and take out some tanks here. It looks like it's going to have lots of morale damage. In fact, too much morale damage. Needs some veterancy on this poor vehicle, and it's gone. Gone to T-55 AMVs. Not a good trade. All the while, we see 4 T-62s rushing through the woods, trying to provide support for the infantry. There's 17 of them, and we'll see some bombardment immediately from the now 4 FV Abbott self-propelled artillery. So that's 8 artillery on the map here for NATO. An insane number of artillery, but that's a specifically important number because this map is very artillery favored. It's very, very tiny. All the while, this group of units here is relatively stuck. There are some supply trucks coming with guns, so they can be used with the attack later on. And now we have to see the unfortunate battle of an AMC-10 with some anti-tank protocols against a T-62. There's a PT-90 coming in to try and provide vision. It got awkward for a little bit, but that did not last long. Now we're going to see it light up as these Gazelles are going to finish off these VDVs. And there's still a 1,000-point difference now. The Pact's still massively in the lead. The mistakes they're making are pretty unimportant considering like the number of important vehicles they're taking out. They're using small groups of infantry to take out very expensive stuff. And a lot of these BMP-1s are coming into great effect right now. Of course, there are no more tanks available, just Jaegers to deal with. So you might have to move this up and actually use the anti-infantry carriers. Got 4 Conquerors here to support, so any kind of tows or tanks or heavy tanks will get dealt with. And yeah, we're seeing 2 Danas now on the map for the NATO players. And whoa, a huge push here by Gurkha. There's nothing really to defend. There's just 8 infantry. Or not even 8, actually. It's only 60 infantry. 2 VPCU squads. Or 4, which is 20 units, and this is a lot of units. It's the main battle tank. He's got to pull his commander back. It's a very fast move he has to make. There's nowhere to pull back to either. This is a no retreat zone. He definitely needs to fortify this wooded location much, much better. As deustcheman is in a little bit of trouble here. He might lose his command armor. A flock of tanks comes by. Some AMX 30B2s, and it gets immediately pinged. He says, "Help." deustcheman says, "Help, we're in trouble." This could definitely cost Pact the lead. He's got to pull a commander back. It's not even a good one. It's one of these cheapy ones. The UAZ 469B. If his opponent sneezes, he will destroy this. Does he have a recon with him? That's a good question. A recon would give him immediate vision and immediate destruction. And he's firing on the infantry, which are packed together with the command, so he could actually do some accidental damage to the command. He's going to continue pushing forward, and he gets the commander. That's a huge snipe, a huge kill. And more AMX 30Bs. It's time for Gurkha to pull back. He's done the damage he needs to do, and now he needs to retreat. But no, he's staying firm to this. He wants to take over his position. He does, in fact, get the infantry squad there, but at a huge cost. It almost made it not worthwhile to even do this attack. There's a Chaparral firing his Havoc at the distance, and the Havoc will go down. He's got to pull back his Havoc, of course. And there's a Flakpanzer Geopard A1. And it's where there's a Spetsnaz squad. This is going to be a fairly expensive squad to deal with this group of units, especially these 7 tanks that will try to avoid getting to close range. And he's just getting clipped and chewed apart as these NATO players are slowly mounting a comeback. Now only 400 points behind. But keep in mind, this is team play. Team play 400 points is nothing. Lots of supply trucks recoasting the map as these Spetsnaz are doomed for. Actually, he's going to ignore them because he can't see them. One of the great things about infantry is that they're very hard to see compared to other vehicles. And so now things are kind of slowing down a little bit. The big play has been made, however. The kill at Gulf is very serious. However, if you look at the points totals, it looks like there's still a fairly significant lead here for red. There's only 2 bases for blue, and NATO is actually in a lot of trouble. That attack needed to do a lot more damage, and now we're seeing a TOW versus Conqueror battle. That's always interesting. Oh, but there's some support, some T-80Us here, and the TOWs will in fact get kicked out. The Leopards are joining the fight just a little bit early, and here comes some tank destroyers as well to do a little bit of damage. And these tank destroyers, of course, have your ITOW rocket. Sometimes it's worthwhile paying for some of these MT-LV Shaturans because of their high rocket count. Other times, not so much. In this instance, it appears that they should pay out just because of the number of tanks that are on the map. And every time this middle Shaturn throws off 1 rocket, this ITW will throw off 2. But whoa, we have a flank from the tank here, actually able to kill off the tank destroyer and force him backwards, and this is not looking good. NATO is in serious trouble. All the while, this location here, going to try and get fortified and secured, brings some helicopters to support, and finally, here comes the entire match preparing move. We're now 20 minutes into the match, and here comes the big flank from Tornado. He's been planning this all along. He's wanted to do this for a while. Just hasn't been able to make a go at it. T-62 in the woods against Chasseurs from us. This is the kind of stuff that will lose you the game. And actually, the Chasseurs from us is targeting down the tank. And if he can get this tank kill, he will put NATO back in the lead. And that would be a very serious mistake here by deustcheman, who has been making a habit of overextending himself. 3 hit points left on the tank. It will in fact survive. All the while we see a separate push here using lots of TOWs, lots of tank destroyers, and actually SASbest is going to tap out right now. Will his teammates follow suit ever so quickly? With all this artillery fire, there might be hope, but it's very slim. It's a 400 point difference, and the teammates Mr. Magic, Henattato, Gurkha are looking the game. A lot of times when someone leaves a match like this, the deciding factor on whether or not they have a chance of winning is who gets control of the units, because it's completely random. And you know, there's obviously in team matches there's going to be people who are better at managing multiple groups of units, and there are people who are going to be better at microing individual groups of units. So that's a big decider. And what do we got going on here? What happened to that giant flank? Did it just die? Where are you, giant flank? Alright, here's the giant flank. It seems to be stuck in mud. Might run out of fuel again, actually. Ironically enough, might not be able to make this journey. It's a very long journey. There's a reason why people don't go the longest possible way around the map. And so for now on, I guess what we're going to spot is a lot of artillery fire back and forth. And what do we have spotted here? Move here. Oh, teammates. And yeah, it looks like NATO's going to try and get back this mostly through artillery, and it's not doing too bad of a job of this. And actually, it's getting fairly close. Just has to shell a lot of these key infantry locations with these mortars, and they should be able to get back in this. And all the while, from our pack players, are seeing a lot of infantry and a lot of supply trucks. possibly have no field base. No, they do have field base operations. They're just not stealing from each other. That's weird. And this is completely the longest possible path he could have taken, but it's also the least scoutable. So I guess his plan will be to come around the back and do a flanking maneuver on all this. There's a lot of anti-aircraft vehicles here, not a lot of anti-tank vehicles here. And he's got a fire position command with the TO-62. You don't see a lot of TO-62 just because it doesn't actually have upgraded napalm damage. It only has upgraded autocannon damage and more armor. So it doesn't doubly serve the purpose. But Legion of Almas, I'm going to wipe out these pack squads here. And looks like there's a little bit of a drop. And by a little bit I mean a fairly large one, 30 units. I'm going to get beaten back and pushed off by the Motos Cherokee, which are of course submerged. And whoa, we have AMX-32 actually going to do some anti-air damage against a transport helicopter. That's moderate amounts of embarrassment there. As the T-62 getting pulled back by Deutschman to support this here. Very fast, very good move. The pact are not that much further ahead anymore, as NATO seems like they're going to make a comeback, or can make a comeback I should say. There is anti-aircraft pounding on these infantry, and will the big move decide it? It's kind of just rough ground stuck in mud right now. We're about 100 points difference, and the match will largely be decided by this little push here. And I say little push with importance because you can add up the unit totals. We have the T-80Us at 160 each, so 320. The Tunguska, 75. So you're looking at 470, and then 4 infantry carriers, 510 plus 10 points for each infantry inside. 540 point difference. If that push was to fail. There are also a lot of high value targets in there as well. So that's something to consider. And right now, NATO's pretty desperate. They're going to continue trying pushing with his infantry with basically whatever they can afford to do. And what they can afford is actually not too much. They don't have a lot of bases compared to their opponents who have a 4-point base, a 2-point base, and a 1-point base. Which gives them a pretty significant lead, especially in team play where money just does not go up very much. In fact, I hate this map in team play. I absolutely hate it. I think that people would do themselves a favor by not choosing Hell's Highway to do a team game on, because this basically just means low income and cheese, which is lame. But here comes the big volley, the big push of T-80s, going to immediately take us some AMX Rolling 2s, get their money's worth. AMX Rolling 2s, of course, quite expensive themselves, worth going to net him at $80, 80 bones, and he's oddly enough going into the forest with tanks. I don't really know why he would do this. Why, Tornado? Why? And Masha VTS-1 gonna rally out, get immediately picked off. However, without that veterancy, they just don't do that well. And there's actually 2 Lynxes here gonna try and do something. Now back to the pretty well the decider battle, because it's pretty close up until this point. So we have T-80U's gonna go ahead and push up. Now he's already sort of revealed his hand, so going through the jungle just slows down this push. And he's letting the T-80s lead the charge. And there's a flak panzer hitting from the side here, gonna cause lots of morale damage to this squad. And the T-80Us should be able to do a fairly significant amount of damage. Lots of infantry are going to get rallied in immediately by Henattato. And there's just small skirmishes happening over the map. And here comes a fairly large push here by Gurkha. Going to try and go for some big damage. All the while in the south, we see the T-80U is just going to pick off almost everything. This Spartan is not intended to go here. It's actually just going to turn around. They probably haven't even noticed it yet. All while this big push continues pushing forward. NATO is only 150 points behind, and there's a defense call being made for this position here. All the while, we see up front here, this location is not that secure for our NATO players, and the T-80Us will continue to do damage. If they get the FOB, that could be huge. All these FOBs, killing all these FOBs could actually bring them back in the game easily. And the command number, he's going to move the infantry carrier ahead, all the while shooting off some awkward. Oh yes, he's going for FOB kills. So very, very good on the NATO player. 300 point difference. All the while this large NATO push comes forward. And these AMX-30 BTs should not be leading the charge, but they are. Just trying to take out any kind of anti-aircraft vehicles they can right now. The Gazelles are largely going to be useless here. And he's got to keep these guys moving. Try to outrange these Motos Strelsies. And that's always a good reason to keep yourself moving. And small little creeping moves here by the Forlorn Hope. Doing very well to try and eliminate as much as they can there. All the while, the T-80U has taken out quite a few FOBs already and might actually get the command armor if he's lucky. He's going to resupply up this FOB, and Actually, this is getting devastatingly bad. It could be somewhat of an FOB base trade right now, depending on how this is handled by the pack players. All the while, this is just doing extremely high amounts of damage. We have an anti-tank gun helicopter coming up, but there's already 2 Tunguskas here. That is not good. And the T-80U is seemingly indestructible next to this FOB. And here comes the rockets from the Tunguskas, and Shazam also has FJB supporting this line here, so anything that comes out will immediately be destroyed. He's in a very difficult spot. This is actually a very well executed rush from Tornado, and it seems like this push is in a little bit of a trouble. He's rallying as many of these tank teams as he can, but they're not going to be the unit of choice here. These FJBs, these infantry, really need to get deployed, and all the while this tank squad is able to do a lot of damage. The FJBs pushing back the Vusilia squad, and here we go. The T-80U is going to go ahead and push forward into the Flak Panzer fire, gets 1 Flak Panzer down, and might get a second one. There's still a 500-point lead difference. This push up here is doing significant damage, keeping them in the game, and the AMX-32s are on a mission to kill a command armor. The command armor finally getting moved here by Gurkha, a little bit late on that, and might get sniped because of it. And here comes a big rocket shot on the command armor. No, he's actually firing on the Fusiliers. He's mistargeting here, massively mistargeting. But he's able to get control of all these very critical FOBs, which means he can move the Tunguska as well and create a nice stable position. All the while we have no FOB captures here from Gurkha, who is using a small group of forces. By small I mean 8 tanks and 4 anti-aircraft vehicles to very high effectiveness. Really just wants to eliminate as much as they can here using this squad. It's a very good opportunity. There's not much there to defend. And it looks like this T-72A will be used to wipe out these Weasel MK-20s, which are desperately at range. 2 command vehicles actually going to have to get relocated completely. And now this back flank does create a pretty large problem here for the NATO team, who were looking like they had a chance, but now there's a 500-point difference. They're not at all. There is a Gazelle here. There's 2 anti-aircraft vehicles slowly creeping up towards them. And here we go. It's some jungling time. AMX-32B is being thrown into infantry. This is not the battle we want to see for NATO, but it will be the battle that will be favorable towards our pact players. He's not wanting these FJBs because they don't really have any anti-tank weapons. They're entirely anti-aircraft infantry. Not particularly going to be the best guys for this, but he's going to go ahead and bring the hit anyway. Hopefully do some sick grenade damage. And the tanks trying to do something, but are getting clobbered. That was 4 tank losses now to infantry, and that's just not something you want to see in these games. FJB is going to rush ahead. Like I said, not your choicey unit for this. They do have the recon thing, which is good, but they don't do that much damage. All the while in middle, command armor are going to get rushed ahead and might try and take Delta, which is insanely risky. I don't know where he's going with these command armors. Mr. Magic and Gurkha going to rush them forward. I don't know if this is a surrender or what, but holy crap. Only FJBs left against the remaining forces. Helicopter support, however, so that should be pretty significant. If he can get rid of the Flak Panzers, he can definitely get rid of this AMX. He does have captured the FOBs, so he does get support here, but not too much. All the while, the FJB trying to chase down the AML Lynx and doing a very good job of it. He says, don't lose, talking about the Tunguska. Of course, don't lose, but he can lose this very easily to the Lynx. The Lynx is doing insanely good damage against vehicles of that caliber. The T-72A going to move up, join the Bicetkari and trying to take out this Weasel MK-20. And this looks like it's definitely going to be... Oh my god, no way. Mr. Magic is throwing away a vehicle. Oh my god, he didn't even realize what he did. He's pulling it back in desperation. He's like, oh, this is a dumb thing to do. And now he has all these Moto Strells he's chasing. There are no vehicles, and yes, he does get the kill. Odd mistake, very odd mistake here from our NATO players. They have 4 commands, they can only use 2 of them. They only have 3 commands actually, just lost 1. And now this large push from NATO is clobbered down. And Pact has a huge dominance on this map. They have control of Alpha, which means they have control of the FOBs. He says, hide. Hide them. And he says, attack! The commander has been spotted. And getting a helicopter here would do a world of help. And this is how you communicate when you're interlanguage in this game. Use these commands, attack! And it'll be translated into your local language, which of course in German I guess is attack! He's actually going to get it ahead. Is it possible? Could he actually get it over to Golf? That would be criminally insane. Now, of course, him getting this over to Golf doesn't do him too much. It's a very isolated base, and the majority of his forces are still at Bravo Charlie, so he's not going to be able to reinforce this with too much. He has 3 Legion von Moscows and a Chaparral here, so he doesn't have too much. But I mean, it's a very slow income game for these players. Even though they've secured Delta quite a long time ago, they still haven't moved up the command armor here, and it is UAZ, so there's a good reason not to. And it looks like it will slow down quite a bit. All players are basically trying to pick off as many as can. And it looks like Dead Nation here is calling for need infantry to cut. He wants infantry in this area here in order to effectively cut out his reinforcements. All the while, it's like he read his book. We see infantry, we see Tunguska in the way, but lots of vehicles coming here to try and cut out the reinforcements of the pack players. It's a lot of small moves that win this match. It's still 34 minutes left in the match. But it is destruction mode. And none of the NATO players can really afford any kind of command armors. So a small play into the woods here. The Tunguska firing on the Spartan. Still hasn't revealed these very key lynxes, and BMP 1P coming into effect with their Conqueror rockets. It's an odd little hybrid vehicle that I don't particularly like. And Tornado says, attack! Get rid of this giant force of units. And of course, for this you need lots of artillery support. Which of course we know the NATO players have the artillery support. So it's now a 1,600 point difference. The NATO players have secured Gulf. But they don't have that many forces left, so I don't see this game going on too much longer. Mr. Magic already surrenders. So now we're down to 2 players. Sticking in this. Now a lot of these custom maps, a lot of players are trying to level up. And of course if you quit, you don't get points. If you lose, you don't get that many points. So they come into this really weird scenario where they want the point, so they'll do all this weird stuff for it. And it looks like we see the NATO players are just not really deploying fast enough. We need to get these infantry forward and into this location here. Try and deal with this course. This isn't really the spawn point, I don't think. I think up here's the spawn point, actually. All the while, a little bit of play here with these mortars, pushing out pretty much everything from this location. But that's really not what matters right now. What matters now is this huge battle, T-72, T-64 against mortar carriers. Not the best unit to beat these with. They do have some guns, but not a lot. The VAB PC is actually going to try and wipe out this Moto Strelki squad as it attempts to escape. But this is a huge loss. These mortar carriers have been around the whole game and have been pretty well necessary the whole game. Of course, without the field of base operations, but they've been draining out, they're in a lot of trouble. All the while we have a BTR-60 Pi almost out of fuel, but coming to intercept as these tanks just continue pushing forward. This is a massive pact victory. There comes a point in the game where it's worth considering quitting. And that point has basically come and gone. So we have a VAB PC in the woods, a Golf one that's very exposed, and small groups of infantry are coming after it. It doesn't even have fuel right now, which is not good, and it doesn't have a very close reinforcement point. So if it tries to move, it could actually get stuck in a pretty awkward spot. The VAB PC all the while is in a very awkward spot. It's kind of stuck in the woods and can get sniped at any time. And that's not good. So here comes some Conquerors, some BTRs. Needs one anti-air vehicle here to take care of this Gazelle. And we're seeing a little play for here. It says, stop! Dead Nation says, don't do it! Don't do it, Tornado! This is a dumb push, and it is a dumb push, but they're so far ahead right now that they can trade off quite a few vehicles for not so many. And keep in mind, like, he's already taken out every single base for blue. Now he's pulling back his Tunguska. Already lost the T-80U, which of course is a key vehicle. He didn't get them from here. No, he did get them from here, so that's a pretty significant loss, but all things aside, it's time for him to end it. He is right. Time for this match to end. All while Moto Strelki, you're going to go into AMX-32, doing very good, of course. There is 4 artillery units here, of which the T-64 BM is firing on. And in the woods, we see some vefed cars slowly creeping their way in, wanting to very much get this VAB PC for a very coordinated kill. I mean, we have an attack going on up here on this command armor. We have an attack going down here on this command armor, and then we have an attack that happened here on this command armor. So pretty much there are no command armors for our blue players. Right now they're just wanting to stay in, maybe to see how many points they can get. The VAB PC is flushed to the woods though, and actually going to get away. That's weird. T-72s should be on the move fast command by now, but they're not. Everything's getting pretty well rallied in to try and deal with this, and in fact, in their current position, they don't have to play too strategically. They just have to kind of, oh, that's weird. Sit around and see Henattato surrenders. He's gone. And now it's really left Gurkha. Gurkha's left in the game. He says, WTF. Yes, WTF indeed. It appears that in a little bit of BM-ish, which means bad-mannered, we're going to see Gurkha try to sneak all these vehicles around and away. And actually the recon will run out of fuel before it'll even spot this thing. And here comes a moto stroke drop on top of the infantry, gets rid of it quickly, and the VAB PC is slowly getting herded out and will run into the enemies, and that will end the game. It's one of my first few team games. I hope you guys enjoyed. I am taking submissions for matches. If you felt like you played a great match, get some great players for the week. I'll be airing a match every single Friday until the launch of Wargame Airland Battle. So thank you guys for watching. My name has been Troublemaker, and see you next week.